Hi, my name is Allie Hines, and I will be teaching about abstracts today. This lesson will specifically deal with the abstracts of empirical research articles. It's for the Meet Kamim Aleph level of either colleges or universities here in Israel. So, as I said, we will be talking about abstracts today. And the purpose of an abstract is it acts as a summary of empirical research article, but instead of coming at the end like most summaries, it comes at the beginning. It's physically separate from the article. So here's the abstract, and here is paragraph 1, paragraph 2, the rest of the article. The abstract is physically separated. And like I said, it's a summary of the research. It's usually a comprehensive summary. So that means that it tells us all of the main points or the most important information that we will find throughout the article. The reason that we, as students, as researchers, use abstracts is to find out whether this article will be relevant for our own research. So if we, instead of reading through a 20-page article to decide whether or not this article interests us, whether or not it makes sense for us to read, we can look at just these 300 words in the abstract and decide quickly, is this the article for me or is it unrelated? Now I'll tell you what we'll find inside the abstract. Inside the abstract, we'll usually have all of these pieces. Now I suggest pausing the video here so that you can write down all of the parts of the empirical research article. I hope you paused and I hope you wrote them down. Now, in the first bullet, it says purpose, research question, and hypothesis. You will usually find one of these in the abstract, not all three. Let's start by talking about purpose. A purpose is usually based on a verb. Some of the verbs will be to research, to investigate, or to explore the link between two things. So we use the example, the link between eating red meat and getting cancer. The authors will write in the abstract, the purpose of this paper was to explore the link between eating red meat and getting cancer. Or the purpose of this paper was to investigate the connection between eating red meat and cancer rates. Or the purpose of this paper was to research the link between eating red meat and getting cancer. It's always one of those verbs, to research, to investigate, to explore. Now some other words for link. A link means a connection or an association or a correlation or a relationship. So you explore the link, you investigate an association between, or you research a correlation between eating red meat and getting cancer. The most important thing to remember about that purpose is it's based on a verb. For research question, it's a little bit easier to find. It's usually asked as a question. So our research question would be, is there a link between eating red meat and getting cancer? Or, if we already know there's a link, what is the connection between eating red meat and getting cancer? Or, to what extent does eating red meat cause cancer? How much red meat do we have to eat in order to get cancer? So the research question will ask as a question. The purpose is based on a verb. Hypothesis is a little bit different. The hypothesis is used to predict. It's a prediction of what the researchers believe will happen before they've done the research. So before I've studied anything, I think that eating red meat causes cancer. My hypothesis would say, the researchers predict that there is a connection between eating red meat and getting cancer, or the researchers assume that the correlation between eating red meat and getting cancer is high. Just to remind you, you will usually find one of these three in the abstract. Just because it's in the abstract, though, does not mean it will not be in the article. The next section is the method section, and under it I've written sample, measures, and procedure. The method section tells us all three parts. It tells us the sample, and the sample is the group of participants. So when I talk about sample size, we may study 50 people. 50 people are our sample. Inside that sample, we have 50 participants. And they could be participants, they could be subjects, or they could be respondents. And when we say respondents, we're talking about a specific group of people. Respondents usually answer questions. So we could give a test, we could give a survey, we could give a questionnaire, and our respondents will answer. If we're talking about subjects or participants, they could also answer questions for us, but they could just be observed, or they could be studied by asking them to do a physical test, something that makes them move. We could do a blood test, we could measure their brain waves. Then they don't have to be answering questions. So to review, our sample is our whole group, and the individual people within that sample are our participants, our respondents, or our subjects. Our measures or our measurement tool is the way the researchers collect the data. It's the way the researchers collect the information. These could be through a test, like we said earlier, a scale, and an example of a scale is on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you like ice cream? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love this video? I'm sure it's very high. The difference between a scale and a test is scale is based on opinion, and test has a correct answer or an incorrect answer. So those are two types of measurement. We also have questionnaires, we have observation, which is when you watch, and we have, like I said, we have blood tests, we have physical exercises, we could measure brain waves. Whatever we do to collect the data will be our test. Our measurement will be our measurement tool, or measurement instrument, The third section under methods is the procedure, or protocol. Now usually Israelis have heard the word protocol before. A protocol, or a procedure, will tell us step by step exactly what the researchers did and exactly what order they did it in. This way, other researchers can come by and do the exact same study and hopefully get the exact same results. This is a way to check the researchers. They have to tell us everything. There are no secrets. So our sample tells us the group of people being studied. Our measurement tool tells us how the researchers collected the data, what they used, and the procedure tells us step by step everything they did to collect that data. The results tell us the data. The data is usually the numbers. In our results section, it's usually numbers and statistics. Now I say usually because it won't always be, but by saying numbers, it's the best way for you to remember results as numbers, and discussion tells us those results in words. That's the difference between these two sections. The results section will usually be our statistics saying 50% of people who eat a lot of red meat also get cancer. And our discussion will say people who eat red meat are more likely to get cancer. It tells us the most important part of our results section. So does it make sense, the difference between results and discussion? Results for our numbers. Discussion tells us that in words, and discussion tells us only the most important parts, especially in the abstract. When we read the real article, we'll learn a lot more information from both of these sections, but in our abstract, it tells us really the main information. Now, the recommendations or implications section is also very important for an empirical research article. There will be recommendations for further research or implications for the real world. An example, going back to our eating red meat and getting cancer, if we find that eating red meat does cause higher rates of cancer, one recommendation for further research could be to see why eating red meat causes cancer. We found that it does, but we don't know why. So we ask other researchers to go and do that research for us. Some implications for the real world would include telling doctors to tell their patients not to eat red meat, or telling people in general, don't eat a lot of red meat, you will get cancer. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but if you continue to the next slides, you'll see some exercises for you to do. In this slide, I would like you to try and find all of the parts of the empirical research abstract that we found here, and the answer key will be on the next slide for you. Thanks for listening.